I would like to invite our other dignitary, Professor Dr. Sarfraz Ahmed Khan, Director, Symbiosis Law School, Hyderabad. Professor Dr. Sarfraz Ahmed Khan, associated with several other organizations apart from Symbiosis Law School, Hyderabad. He is General Secretary, Indo-British Scholars Association, British Council, Kolkata. He has been awarded British Human Rights Scholarship in 2004 from British Council, India, for studying LLM in International Human Rights at University of Essex, United Kingdom. Professor Dr. Sarfraz Ahmed Khan has a number of books in his account, and with these words, we heartily welcome you, sir, and the stage is all yours.
Thank you, Shobhaji. I'm indeed grateful to the university and the organizers to inviting me for this program. Honorable Justice K.G. Balakrishnan sir, Professor Raj S. Dhankar sir, Vice Chancellor of APJ Satya sir, University, Dr. Adish G. Agarwal, International Council of Jurists, Sri G.R. Raghavendran, Joint Secretary, my colleague Kavita ji, Mr. Kishore Kumar Mishra, and Shobhaji. It's indeed a privilege, and I'm really grateful to you. Can you see my screen, like PPT I share? Is it visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Your PPT is visible and you are audible too.
Okay, so I'm going to discuss issues which is the area where I'm doing my research. It's very close to my heart, and I did my doctoral work on this. And just wanted to share. We have a 15 minutes time, so I wanted to share something on this very important issues. Which was there, which is today, and it's a challenging throughout the globe how we can combat trafficking, particularly sex trafficking. And I just wanted to share some thought today with all of you. When we say sex trafficking, we know, I don't want to get statistics here because we know every year some data comes. From the 2000 onwards, the trafficking in persons report consistently every year gives some statistics, this many numbers of people are trafficked throughout the globe. And they earmark India's, each country's ranking in that way because of their domestic legislations mandated for them. Then from last 6-7 years, from probably 2012 onwards, nation in Australia called Walk Free Foundations, which publishes a yearly report called Global Slavery Index. And some year they adopted the earlier report, 22 million, then says 33 million, then one report says 40 million, 40.3 million. And again, then later on in the recent report, they refer to 33 million number of people trafficked throughout the world, or they are in the we call modern day slavery. So without going into dispute how many numbers, etc., it's a unimaginable number of people's traffic. So the slavery which we say we have abolished some point of time, it do exist in different form. It's a moderate and it is challenging. It's challenging for every one of us. How we can really change, how we can really in real sense able to combat trafficking in India or even throughout the world. And I just wanted to share some of my thought on it. One way is the way we look into trafficking today is the model which are there, some way there's a deficiency. And I just give is a brief idea like crime control model, which again does not take into account the state responsibility, human rights perspective, victim being the central point of entire thing. So it's talk about only a prosecution and prosecution of the perpetrator, but there are many one who is involved, including the state responsibility for failure of due diligence. Sex work model on the other hand, they talk about the victim protection, supports, etc. to them. And from 2000 onward, when we see this trafficking in persons report comes, initially they talk about 3P, prosecutions, protections, preventions. And from 2010 or 11 onwards, they started using fourth P. It's called partnership, and this is without partnership it cannot be completed. But all these models forget somewhere that in any trafficking cases, the rights of the victims are violated. If the rights of the victims are violated, victim must be at the central point. And when the rights of the human rights of victims are violated, we cannot absolve the state from the responsibility which they have, and there's a multi-fold or multifaceted responsibility which the state has. So we need something, and we look for something. This is another deficiency which is there, is when a large number of circumstances we try to de-link between trafficking and sex trafficking, particularly, and prostitution. And there's a huge literature available where people argue that no, you must separate them, you can't link them. But the facts remain, there's a close connectivity. So as soon as any law talk about the trafficking, or particularly sex trafficking, they have to look into what kinds of a regulatory framework should be there to address prostitution. How we look into, can we go for sex work model, can we go for sexual exploitations model? And there's a diverse view, so there's no uniformity. You have a groups of the peoples who argue that the sex work model is best model, consider the prostitution as a work, give them license, etc., legalize everything. On the other hand, there are many peoples throughout the globe, and Madam Catherine McKinnon was a pioneer in it, which talk about the sexual exploitation model, which consider is an exploitation. So the whole idea is that whatever our ideology will be, it must be fixed, and that should be linked with the anti-trafficking policy which the government of India should have. Otherwise, we will not able to combat trafficking. Now, we just quickly, in 1 or 2 minutes, I just wanted to say this, what two approaches things. So those who talk about the sex work model, they always say it's the oldest profession, we must recognize it, we must consider the agency of a woman, we must respect the choice of a woman or girls who choose to be in prostitutions. Those are their all sexual liberations, etc., etc. On contrary, those who argue that no, it's exploitation, they see it's the oldest operation. So like any other operations against women, this need to be tackled, it need to be addressed, it need to be some system put in place which will check. And their arguments are that this all, even if someone going there in prostitutions, it is because it exists sex inequality in the society. So in an ideal society where we have a sex equality, no woman will choose to be in prostitution. Accordingly, when say their choice is not the real choice, it is some kinds of artificial or choice. In my work, I have used the word eclipse of choice. When they go for prostitution, is basically an eclipse, because the real choice we can only understand when they are free. So what should be the best way to deal with? In my view, and what I have argued in my work is that there are 7 regions, and for those 7 regions, we must adopt the sexual exploitations model instead of sex work model. Someone can disagree, someone may agree, but I just put in few minutes, I can just talk about this. What are the 7 regions which I have identified? First, those who entered in prostitution, they are all trafficked, or at least in the only small fractions might be voluntary, but when they entered at the age, they were all trafficked. And I have an ample of studies to show examples. I don't want to keep time here, but there's a multiple examples where it says it comes by virtue of trafficking. So hardly any enter voluntary. We don't see any kinds of voluntary. I found in some cases where the girls return back, no protection is provided, and they return. But this is not voluntary because it's a state failure. It's a society's failure. It's a collective failure where we don't have able to develop a system where sufficient protection has been given to a woman who already rescued and brought back to the village. Large number of them, in fact majority of them, some statistics 65, 70, you can see the statistics, they enter when they are minor, so question of choice does not come, question of agency does not come at that point of time. There are studies which show, so third reason, fourth reasons, there are many studies which shows the places where we have a sex work model, the number of trafficking has gradually increased, so instead of decreasing. So there's a cross connection. This is small. This is a very strong connection between the sex work and trafficking. So without even having a legalized system where the number of trafficking so much, If you legalize, the number of trafficking is drastically increased. So what we are looking for is sex work model will open a ways in which more and more people will become slave, and which nobody should wish for. Prostitution is not a harmless pursuit. I can give 100 examples. So those who say any kind of harm is not there. Fifth, demand of male is responsible in majority of the cases. So when we say trafficking, the persons who are responsible are if in the female sex trafficking, it is the male who create the demand, and still the law is silent, except when we see in ITPA, it's smaller, section 7 is there. When we section 370K, 370A has there, and see the implementation. How is being implemented. So the demand creator which are there, the persons who are there are many laws where the law addresses the demand. So if we have to address that sex trafficking, we have to address the demand as the most focal point. And then the last regions, particularly for India, Bangladesh, because we are party to SAR conventions, also we are party to 1949 conventions. Both the conventions preamble categorically says that prostitution is irreconcilable with the human rights and the dignity of women. If that's so legally speaking, we cannot in India or Bangladesh or in all the subcontinent, we cannot think about the legalization of the prostitution. So that was the 7th point on which I have argued that we have to adopt sexual exploitation model. So impliedly, any anti-trafficking policy or the measures or the laws which should be there in future, it must take into account this component that, okay, it must recognize sexual exploitation model at the forefront and see what should be the future regulation. And how to prevent the trafficking. What my analysis of the trafficking is that there are many push factors which are involved in the trafficking. Those push factors make the persons vulnerable. Now we will find, as because large number of students are here in the webinar, we will find studies. Even there are many studies, sometimes even NHRC study initially which is on trafficking. Many of time in the study they say this many girls enter into prostitution because of poverty, this many girls because of this reason, this many girls because of the divorce, this many girls because of the torture or domestic violence. Now these are, they did not enter the prostitution because of these reasons. We did some kinds of wrong in analysis, they did some kinds of wrong in the research itself, because the policy, the methodology which we adopted is not suited for this research. The reason being that we have not gone into deep on the issues. So what I found from my case study is when the qualitative study, because the quantitative study cannot find this differences. What I found is that this poverty, illiteracy, lack of education, domestic violence, child marriage, bigamy culture, all these are background factors which make someone vulnerable. Because they were vulnerable, they were trafficked. They trafficked and they forced into prostitution. If someone says that because of poverty they enter into prostitution, what they are doing, they are missing those two links which are there in between. One is they have not touched upon the vulnerability. Two, they have not touched upon the traffic in between. Now, so any future law, if we have to address the trafficking, we need to address the vulnerability factor. Without addressing the vulnerability factor, we cannot address the trafficking. Unfortunately, when we see post Nirbhaya, the committee was constituted, Verma committee submitted report, committee recommended for the changing the law, and we got change in the law. But I don't know how many of you have minutely seen section 370 of the IPC which defined the trafficking. While section 370 of IPC has verbatim, they completely copied article 3 of trafficking protocol, but a small part of article 3, which was the possession of vulnerability, the reason for which someone's become trafficked. So in the trafficking protocol definitions, we say that 3 components are there. I have deleted those 3 components. 3 components are there. Act means purpose. The means is one of the means which trafficking protocol says Because of the vulnerability someone trafficked, when section 370 came into existence, somehow our legislature, while the Verma committee recommended completely adoption of Article 3, they adopted 98% of the Article 3, but they omitted the word called vulnerability. What's the reason behind it? It's created a big vacuum in section 370 of IPC, which talk about trafficking. So one of the reasons, so that was the most correct point of when we say trafficking. So it need to address the vulnerability. That's one point, push factor. So there is a vulnerability we need to address it. So any future law which should be there in the country, they must look into how the vulnerability factor can be addressed. Other side, pull factor. What are the pull factors? There are demands, two kinds of demands. Now these two kinds of demands can be interchangeable. We know in the economics theory, when there is a more availability of the market, automatically more customer will buy the thing because things will be cheaper. At the same time, there is a demand from the buyers, and that's why the things are in the market. So it can be interchangeable, but there are two kinds of demands. One demand is there is a demands by the customers. In every single trafficking cases, when some girls is sitting in GB Road who is trafficked from Nepal, the traffickers brought the girl from Nepal to India and to GB Road because there are some customers sitting in Delhi who demanded that kinds of girl. Some girls from Bangladesh brought to Calcutta, and then from there to Hyderabad or to some other part of the country or to Goa, because the customer sitting in Goa or Maharashtra or in Pune or in Hyderabad demanded the girls, and that's why the girls has to traffic there. So there is a demand created by the customers, end users. Second category of demands are the profiteers demand, and these two demands again lead to the prostitutions. So any law in future, if the law we have to have in the future, the law has to take into both the demand into core in the central. And I'm not talking about the criminalization of the girls, punishing the girls, but these people who are involved in the process. So any future law, if we have to see these things, it must be they have to address the demand. What is there for today for the demand? Trafficking protocol, we are obligated. What law we brought in? We don't have brought the domestic legislation in conformity of the trafficking protocol. We have section 370 of IPC or 370A of the IPC, but that also incomplete, as I said. It's not enough. We require an effective support system which can help the victim. That victim is a service receiver. If a victim rights are violated, victim human rights are there, then those victims required to be provided support from the different groups of the people. There are hundreds and hundreds of examples I can share. In my work, I have discussed 80 cases, but there are hundreds examples where the pathetic kinds of torture which were involved. Let me give one or two examples to you. Considering that there are many people still believe that because we have these kinds of exploitative industries, red light area in GB Road, Sonagachi in Calcutta, Etwari in Nagpur, all those areas are there, our good girls are safe. But facts remain. I found in interview that many people make this kinds of interview. On contrary, I find also there's a comments from the people that look, because of these areas are there, that's why the number of sexual exploitations are there. And I found many corroborative statement to that. Let me give one last example to you to just correlate of these sex industries or this industry which are there in the market. This Nirbhaya case, entire country has shocked with Nirbhaya. Entire country demonstration started. We got the committee, we got the amendment, we got POCSO, we got new law. None of us has really looked into what was the background, what was the circumstances when this, what was the thing happened that night. If any one of you remember the BBC documentary which they have made, India's Daughter. In BBC documentary, the accused persons who were there, they said our conscience was so much that okay, so we want the children should be given to death penalty, etc. Suddenly we become to take revenge. But largely, did we talk about this something which was there behind the curtain? What was that? In the India's Daughter, if you see, this is available in India. It was banned, but it's available on the BBC website, and definitely in YouTube you will find this documentary. Those accused persons who committed this heinous crime, their statement is that night, it was Sunday probably, and they were got ready. They have consumed alcohol by bus. They were going to GB Road. Now these are the people who are going to go for a paid sex. Now these industries, on the way they found some helpless girl and they exploited her. Now this industry which is there, I am not sure, this one of the example, it might be exception, but this one of the examples shows that the people who commit these kinds of heinous crime, they are sexual offenders. They do habitually sexual offenses in different circumstances. And this industry which is thriving, increasing in every part of the countries, has some way strong connections. And unless we talk about this sector of the people's demand creator or the people who are profiteers creating a profit, without them we cannot able to combat. There are one or two examples are there. Recently for my work I have written this book on sex trafficking, where 80 similar case studies I have analyzed, and what I said is my finding from these cases, where in each cases, I did not find a single case where some girl says I voluntarily went into prostitution. I didn't find a single case where someone says that no, it was my choice, it my agency. So I do find very critical of some cases on the sex, where the people argue for sex in sexual work model, where they refer to those categories of the women who has been in prostitution for some point of time, and that gradually they improve. I have used the word graduated prostitute women in my work, because some women who after being in exploitative life for some period of time, they themselves become exploitators, and these people who comes in the category of themselves as a trafficker. So so with these words, my only concern is that in future law, whatever the laws we are going to have, when bill came and the bill was lapsed, the future law must take into account this dual aspect. The people's, the vulnerability factor, which act as a push factor, that need to be addressed by the state. Both the demand, customers' demands and the profiteers' demand, both the need to be addressed. Unless we do that, and I have developed a model called reparations model, where the victim will be at the central point. All the services must be available to the victims, so that victims can get the services from the state machinery. With these few words, I'm concluding my comments. I'm definitely at the end. If there's any questions, definitely I'm available for the answering any questions. So thank you again, Shobnajit ma'am and other panelists.
Thank you so much, sir. Thanks a lot.